Welcome to another episode of Warhammer 40,000 Apocalypse. It is Eldar, and they are going to be fighting against the Tyranids this time. Victorious Eldar force now faces a new foe, the Tyranids, and it's going to be a never-ending tide. It's a big challenge this game, and this scenario, the result of this will have an impact on the next game that comes along. It's going to be a two-part one, this battle, and today's result will have an impact on the next scenario. So playing on an Eldar world, it was forested with many trees and greenery, but the Tyranid presence has been here and has had a detrimental effect on the landscape. But the greenery has long since gone. There's just a couple of trees left, and central to the Eldar position, the Eldar will be here. They're defending what's left of this old grove, with the Great Tree here in the centre, looking out across the battlefield. The Tyranids have advanced across all sectors of the planet, and it's at this point here that the Eldar are going to make their stand, are going to try and hold the line. Will they be able to stop the red tide as it moves up the table, or will this sacred position be overrun? The Tyranids don't care, they have no interest in the tree. It's the Eldar that they're after, but the Eldar will try and hold this position as best as they can, and if they can halt the Tyranids, they'll win. If they get overrun, then there'll be consequences for the next game. If the Eldar have victory here, then the Tyranids will have to fight an extermination game. That is, that the Tyranids will be surrounded and the Eldar will try and overrun them. And then if the Eldar lose, then they will have to fight a scenario where they will be surrounded on all sides by the Tyranids, an extermination game. So it'll have consequences. We're looking forward to this one. It's quite open terrain, only a maximum of 5+ cover here we're going to give for the rocks and the scrub. That is it, so it's open ground. The Eldar are exposed here on the rocks, not much cover at all, and then the Tyranids as well. So we put this table together, and it's just gaming tiles underneath, and then some rocks from the garden we've borrowed, and we've constructed this rock formation here, and then just some old trees, again, that I've borrowed from the garden. Dad collects bonsais, and some of them don't survive, so he saves the dead ones, and that's why we've got these really nice looking trees here. I think they really set the battlefield off nice, just to create that old sort of grove kind of look. So you can imagine once that it was full of greenery and trees, and now with the Tyranid presence, it's having a dire effect on the vegetation here. And just some scrub left, and then just some rocks from the beach. Just got a bucket of these, this kind of smooth kind of stones, perfect for finishing off the table. It just blends everything in. So there it is. It's the once a glorious planet of green. There's now not much of that left thanks to the Tyranids. The Eldar are clinging onto this world in desperation, but they are on the back foot. And if you can imagine a thin Eldar line stretching for miles, and then across the way, this is where the Tyranids will be, a huge line, miles deep, full of carnivorous red chitin, seeking to move up the table and smash the Eldar line and move deeper and deeper into the planet. It's going to be a desperate struggle. Looking forward to this one. Right, welcome to this Apocalypse game. It's Eldar against Tyranid. It's going to run through the forces here. It's the same Eldar force that hammered the Imperial Guard in the city, and they've now been called to the defense of the planet Algorion. And I'm just going to run through the forces. So in command of the Eldar force is the Avatar. Very happy to have him in command. And then other HQs, I'll run through those. Prince Uriel, a lot of characters here today. So Tyranids have got a chance to take out some key characters for the Eldar. Prince Uriel is in, and just an all-type with Swooping Hawk Wings power weapon. And then Karandras for the Striking Scorpions, the Phoenix Lord is in. And then another Striking Scorpion all-type with a fusion gun and power weapon and Mandy blasters. Janzar is in the force as well. And then Fuigan the Burning Lance for the Fire Dragons. So a lot of key characters for the Eldar there. I'll just go on to troops. Guardian Defenders, 1 unit of 10 with a scatter laser platform, and then 2 more units of 10 with Bright Lance platform. I was going to try and have a Guardian defense line. And then mounted in Wave Serpents, both Wave Serpents with twin-linked Shuriken cannons, and the tanks also got lots of upgrades on them, hollow fields and so on. And then 2 units of 10 Dire Avengers. Then coming across, what we've done here is I've split my Banshees down. One smaller unit is going to be inside a Wave Serpent, just a quick response unit with the Exarch there with Mirror Swords. And then a larger unit with the Exarch there, and they'll be joined by Janzar to go on foot. Then coming down, the Clowns are in, Harlequins, with Troop Master and Shadow Seer. 6 Fire Dragons with the Exarch there, Fire Pike for him. Then 5 Warp Spiders with Power Blades for the Exarch there. And then with the Tempest launch, the Exarch for the Dark Reapers, 5 of them. Then 1 Eldar Viper with Shrieking Cannon underneath, and then Scatter Laser on top. Then 1 large unit of Striking Scorpions with the famous Striking Scorpion Exarch with the Scorpion's Claw. A smaller unit with another Exarch with the 2-handed blade there, Biting Blade, and they're going to be mounted inside a Wave Set with twin-linked Bright Lance. And then 1 Falcon for the Eldar, and then 2 units of Rangers, 2 units of 5. Then onto the Wraith part of the army, Wraith Blades, unit of 5. 3 Wraith Lords, all with Flamers, Ghost Glaives, and Bright Lances. And then the dreaded Eldar Wraith Knight with Sun Cannon, Scatter Shield, and Scatter Laser. Then one of the key Super Heavies, Scorpion Mark II Super Heavy tank with twin-link Pulsars. Nasty one, this one, nice low profile. This will be critical in the game. If this guy stays alive, the Eldar stand every chance. Basically, if the big guns fall silent, the Eldar will be overrun. Then 6 jet bikes, 2 Shuriken cannons in amongst them. And then joining them will be 5 Shining Spears, or as I've painted them, Fire Spears. There's an Exarch there as well for those. A little bit of air support for the Eldar. It's it's an Eldar Crimson Hunter Exarch, so he'll bring some expert cover in the air, although he's going to be outnumbered, we think, by the Tyranids, that's for sure. And then finally, the controversial and very powerful Eldar Revenant Titan. If ever we need him in a game, it'll be today. And we're thinking that if the big guns keep firing all game long, the Eldar stand a chance. But if these two, the Revenant Titan and the Scorpion, are brought down, if the big guns fall silent, then surely the Eldar position will be overrun. But we'll have to see. That's the Eldar force. Should be enough to form some kind of defence to hold the line. The army looks big enough, but it is tiny in comparison to this Tyranid force. The Eldar have got a real challenge today, and that's how we want the game to go. We want a nice, close game. Right, so here's the Tyranid force. We can't really give you the points because it's an unknown number. We roughly reckon that there is about 10,000 points, perhaps 9 or 10,000 points. The Tyranid force, if you can pan up with the camera here, you can see that it stretches all the way up the table there. So we're going to run through what we got. Big units of gaunts here, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 units of 30. So that's 120 gaunts there. We're going to have a real tide in this game. We've taken off point restrictions for the Tyranids. The scenario is in favour of the Eldar. They'll hold the objectives and they'll be defending. To reflect this scenario, we've given the Tyranids never-ending swarm and a vast, vast force. The Eldar don't mind if they can win, and that's only going to bolster their pride, and the Tyranids feel that they have a chance, so they're going to put every effort into this as well. 6 Raveners in between the 2 flyers here, then 1 Hive Crone, and then 1 Winged Hive Tyrant, 1 Tervagon. They're all going to have regenerate in this game. Then coming down here, 2 squads of Rippers, then a Broodlord, and he is going to be with 6 units of Gene Stealers, a vast force of Gene Stealers, and we think the Tyranids are going to take an infestation apocalypse formation, so they could turn up right in the heart of the Eldar position, but we'll have to see. 6 Lictors, including 1 Death Leaper. Now you'll notice that some of the units here are from another collection. Rob Latchford's brought his own Tyranids down. He's going to mix them with our force, and his colour scheme is very close to ours. A really nice job. So you'll see some of his figures in the force here, and then sort of a Hive HQ, my own Hive Tyrant, and then Rob's Swarm Lord as well, and then they're being protected by a few of the Hive Guard, and then 1 Trigon, 1 Morlock, another Trigon. Tyranids will probably take that as a prime in this game, and then coming down, 1 unit of 6 warriors, 1 unit of 4 warriors, 1 unit of 5 warriors, another unit of 6 warriors, and then another unit of 6 warriors as well. So a nice big formation of Tyranid warriors, and then a whole pile of Carnifexes, 1 brood of 5, another brood of 5, and then another brood of 4. Then on to Hormagaunts, 1, 2, 3 units of 30, huge amount of those, and then just a small unit of 9 Spine Gaunts. And then onto the bulk of Rob's collection here, 2 Venom Thropes, 2 Winged Hive Tyrants, then 4 Hive Guard with Impaler Cannons, 2 Hive Crones, so the Tyranids are going to dominate the skies here, then 2 Tervagons, so they're going to be breeding like crazy, then 1 Morlock, and then 1 Trigon, and then some more Gaunts, 2 units of 30. So there's the Tyranid force, there's Rob's collection there, which blends in really well with our stuff. Just bolster the Tyranid attack force, really going to dominate the skies here with those 4 extra flyers. And then here's our collection there and across the table. It's exactly the kind of scenario we wanted, vast numbers. I can give you an idea of the scale of this Tyranid hive swarm. Right, so here is the scenario, and we think it's fair. Tyranids already have built a chitinous Aegis defense line. It appeared overnight. So the Tyranids are going to deploy 24 inches in, up to that line. So they're already in deep into the territory. Then there's a no man's land, and we've agreed it, of 18 inches, not 24, 18. So they've got to cross an 18-inch gap. The Eldar line will start here, if they so wish, if they want to try and contest the early points. Points for this game, unique. No first blood. There'll be points for Slay the Warlord, and then there'll be points, single points for killing super heavies. So the Revenant Titan and then the Scorpion Mark II will get points for killing them. And then the way we've broken it down, the Tyranids will be rewarded in points the deeper they advance into the territory, and then the Eldar will be rewarded for the further they can hold the Tyranids back. So both forces should collide somewhere in the middle, and then the winner will be determined from there. If the Tyranids advance 12 inches in, which is this sort of zone here to here across the table, and the Eldar presence is eliminated. No scoring units in that area. They'll get 1 point. If they then move into the next sector, the next 12 inches, they'll get 2 points, and then 3 points for this sector, 4 points for this sector, and if they push right deep in and eliminate the Eldar from here, they'll get 5 points, and the Eldar will surely have lost, and then 6 points for the final zone. So if the Tyranids sort of reach this area and cleanse this kind of position on the table, then they should win. The only other points on the table, we've agreed this, and that is if the Tyranids capture the Great Tree. If they have a scoring unit within 3 inches and no Eldar unit within 3 inches, then they'll get 3 victory points for that as well. Not that it's significant to the Tyranids, but just that the tree is of great importance to the Eldar. So that is scenario. We're going to go on to deployment now in this unique and fascinating game. So the planet of Algorion fall, it hangs in the balance. The Eldar will cling on to every inch of ground, and this Tyranid tide surely is unstoppable. We'll have to see as we go into deployment now for these two forces. Right, it's the Tyranid deployment, and we've got what we wanted, a big wall here of advancing creatures. So behind their defense line there's Hormagaunts at the front, mixed with Gaunts here, and then one of the Carnifex broods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. And then Hive Tyrant there. There's a Venom Throat just there. That's going to grant some cover for the Tyranids as they move in. Warriors at the back. And then Tervigon just here, one of Rob's Tervigons. And then another one of Rob's Tervigons just there. Swarmlord right at the back. And then scuttling across the rocks, a unit of Hormagaunts. Another 2 broods of Carnifexes, Hormagaunts, Gaunts at the front there, Warriors, and then another Tervigon as well. That's just half the Tyranid force deployed here. See it swinging around as it looks up the table. Right, so deployment for the Eldar. 2 Wraith Lords are set up right up to the 18-inch mark. They're going to lumber across the battlefield, try and slow this Tyranid force down. The Scorpion Mark II Super Heavy is just sitting out here. And then the Wraith Blades will be defending the Great Tree. Coming across one of the Wave Serpents with a unit of 10 Dire Avengers aside, it's just sitting here. We've got some kind of reserve held behind the rocks so we can leap over and meet any Tyranid challenge that comes close. The Wraith Knight just at the back here is going to provide some fire support. Banch is disembarked. Janisar's unit on the left and then another unit on the right, ready to counter-attack any Tyranid infesting forces. And then Wave Serpent here is empty, there's nothing inside there. And the Revenant Titan just at the back here with a good view across the table. We expect that to move around. And then Warp Spiders, unit of 5, just ready to move about as the need arises. And then our jet bike formation with support from the Viper, just at the back, ready to move out as well. Another unit of 10 Dire Avengers inside the Wave Serpent. The Harlequins, and they've been joined by Prince Uriel. Inside here is Fuigan and the Fire Dragons. And then the Guardian line is on top of the rocks here, and they are being supported by the Dark Reapers. And then one of the Autarchs has joined one of the units there. And then the Avatar just at the back to grant them all fearless. So they should hold to the last man, at least, as long as that Avatar remains alive. The unit of Scouts here just on top of the rocks. Nice, dominating position, ready to pick off targets as they move in. The Falcon's just going to sit here as well. Good position there. And then just behind the rocks, one of the Wraith Lords. So that's the Eldar line. And then Infiltrators, we're going to try and buy some time for our force as the Tyranids move in. So unit of Scouts has taken position on top of the rocks here. That's the lead Eldar unit. And then 2 units of Scorpions. One just tucked in the rocks there. You can barely see them in the scrub. And then the larger one joined by the Scorpion Autarch and then Karandras as well. They'll charge headlong into the foe and try and delay this Tyranid force for as long as possible. So just reserves then, those 2 Dire Avenger units are inside the Wave Serpents. The Flyer's going to come on turn 1 in this game and come on straight away. We need that air support. And then the Fire Dragons are inside the Wave Serpent as well. Right, so Tyranid reserves. Tyranid players of Rob and James have decided to hold these guys back, and they're going to try and come up through the tunnels that are made by the Trigons. So that's going to be interesting. You're going to have Tyranids popping up all over the place. The Revenants are going to deep strike. All these guys are going to deep strike. Lictors are going to deep strike. Death Leaper's going to deep strike. The Rippers are allowed to deep strike and then this force here is going to outflank. Oh dear, we'll have to deal with those fast to try and free up the line to continue the fire into the Tyranid force. It's a critical point here. What flank will they turn up on? And will the Eldar be able to deal with that lot? Warriors is going to join on the outflank as well. They're allowed to in this formation. And then some flyers here. So all of these are going to deep strike as well. So there's going to be a lot for us to deal with on the first turn and onwards. So a challenge for both sides. Both teams motivated for this one. We'll see what happens. We'll see if the Eldar can steal the initiative. Right, so deployment is done. The two forces are ready. Just a couple of house rules that we're going to do. It's universal snaps for the Tyranids. They're not going to have to worry about any leadership tests or reverting back to instinctive behaviour. It's fearless across the table. That'll make the game a lot easier for us when you don't have to worry about that. And we can justify it that the Tyranid hive mind in the presidency is so strong that the snaps' range is universal. And then another rule is there are some formations. Once those formations are broken up, then those units can go back into reserve for the Tyranids. They won't be able to have the formation again, but the individual units can reappear. Everything's going to be recycled in this game. Absolutely everything will come back on again. And instead of it coming on from the back here and trying to work its way up, what we've said, to represent the continuous tide, you have to imagine that this tide stretches back for miles, and the Eldar are looking upon a never-ending swarm of Tyranids. So when a unit's recycled, it can come on and deploy 18 inches or more away from any Eldar unit from this direction. So, for example, if a unit comes on that's been destroyed and recycled, 18 inches away would be about here. It can start here. Instead of starting at the back, you can start at 18 inches away from any Eldar unit and join the tide as it rolls up. So this Tyranid line is never going to be exhausted. The Eldar just have to keep blowing it away, holding it back, and then try and survive the game. We think that's fair. We'll see how the game goes. It's hard to call. Both sides, we have no idea who's going to win this one. So we're going to go on now to turn one. We've rolled for night fighting. It is dark as the game starts. That's good for the Tyranids. The Eldar are going to try and steal the initiative. A 6 would be handy. A 3 we don't. It is Tyranid turn 1. Here we go. Right, the Tyranid tide advances. It was here, and now it is here. We've done run moves for the Tyranids just to keep the game flowing, and the Hormagaunts with that extra 3 inches have closed the gap. Look how close they are already on turn 1 to the scouts. We're going to see action pretty soon. Turn 2, they'll be in. Venomthrope's in there, just granting that save. So there's some protection there. Not against the D weapons though. They're going to be crucial in this game. Try and thin that tide as much as possible. But as we said, stuff's going to keep coming. The table will stay full up with Tyranids at least for the entire game. So that's the line, and then a whole load of other stuff has turned up. You're going to have to see this. You're going to have to see it to believe it. The Rippers have turned up just here. Raveners have deep strike to here. The Morlock has turned up just in front, and then he has opened up a hole for the reserves arriving. So that's a tactical move there from the Tyranids. Death Leapers arrived just down here. And then flanking, this is the formation here, the Warriors have turned up, moving in fast, so it's a nightmare there for the Eldar to try and deal with. There's a Lictor just in the entrance of the cave there. Then coming around, Eldar forces have been decimated at the back. Almost all the Harlequins have been destroyed. Some jet bikes killed. And then 2 of the fire spears, and that is the Morlocks trying to burst up. Now they mishapped because they didn't kill all of their targets, and they couldn't come through, but they've certainly caused a lot of casualties. And we sent one of the Morlocks back here out of the way, so he's not going to have an impact for a while until he burrows again. And then the other Morlock, we've deliberately put him just there. We're going to try and finish him off and destroy him. Then coming around, there's another Lictor just here, and almost missed it. There's another Lictor right inside the cave, just in there. So Tyranids infesting everywhere. Another Trigon has turned up at the back. That was a good deep strike, that one. So he's made a hole for more reserves. There'll be Gaunts pouring out of there next turn. And then the Genestealer formation has flanked here and has turned up. There's a squad there, squad there, squad there. The Lictor's turned up at the back behind the Scorpion. And then the Broodlord and his squad has turned up there. And then 2 more squads just here as well. There are Tyranids everywhere on turn 1. We've never seen it like this before. The Tyranids are efficient, they've adapted, they've evolved, and the Eldar, instead of just pot-shotting from the back here, are going to have to deal with half the Tyranid forces turned up. So obviously the Eldar line in other areas, in other parts of the sector, have collapsed, and Tyranid units are breaking through. So, and Tyranid units are breaking through and converging on this Great Tree position. So trouble for the Eldar straight away. Going to go into the psychic phase now in this nightmare of a game. Just reporting on the psychic phase for the Tyranids. Just feel no pain granted to the Swarm Lord here, and then this lead unit of Homogorms feel no pain as well. Just going on to the shooting now. There are some shooting attacks to do. James has just done one. The Strangleform cannon fired up, and one of the Eldar scouts has been killed. Eldar casualties starting to come in. Right, so just working on the shooting here. The Lictor fired into the rear armour of the Scorpion, which is going to have to move on our turn, or it's going to be in trouble, and has done no damage. And then this Lictor and then the Lictor in the cave firing through, trying to take out the Warp Spider Exarch. And he's passed a couple of saves there, so he's still alive, defiantly. Just firing the warriors now. There's some effective fire coming in, trying to thin down our Guardian line. Guardian's being brought down here. Nasty firepower coming up from the warriors. Our lines being thin. Every Eldar figure and unit and vehicle that dies will not come back. Every Tyranid unit that dies will come back and join that great tide that's surging towards the Great Tree. Must hang on to this. If we hold it, we win. Looks like it's almost being contested at the moment by the Lictor. So Eldar certainly have got a challenge on their hands, perhaps the biggest we've faced in any game. So warriors firing up. Damage has been significant here. Well, not too bad. 2 of the Dark Reapers killed, and then this Guardian squad's been halved. 5 of them killed, and then a couple of casualties on this squad here. But they'll hold the ground. The Avatar giving them that 12-inch fearless, so that line will continue with its duty as it looks out across the rocks. That marks the end of the shooting phase of the Tyranids. There's no assaults. All the run moves are done. So turn 1 is finished. We're going to go on to Eldar turn 1, and we're going to have to respond really well, or the position could be jeopardised by turn 2. But I reckon we'll be all right. We can do with all this stuff. The plan is, we've been talking to Ben, the plan is to deal with all these flankers, and then once they're gone, they'll not come back on the flanks. They'll have to join the main assault force, and we can then divert our attention over to that tide as it moves ahead. We'll not be able to stop them, but we might be able to hold them back. Right, so Eldar movement on turn 1, just reacting to the Tyranid threat here. So one Wraith Lord's moved out 3 inches, going to take on the Trigon here. Falcon just sort of holding position, going to provide some fire support. Next Wraith Lord moving in, going to try and take on the Raveners, and he's joined in support by the small unit of the Striking Scorpions. Then we just come around this direction here. The Dark Reapers have turned their attention to the Tyranid Warrior threat on the flank. Scouts holding their position, and then we've backed up with the Wave Serpent, and then deployed the Fire Dragons and Fuigan as well. He's going to lend some support, and then the Viper is going to provide some fire support into there. The last of the Harlequins and Prince Uriel are going to shoot and try and charge in, and then the Dire Avengers have disembarked, and they're going to let off a volley into those warriors as well. So we're not panicking, we've got plenty of stuff. The Flyer's turned up, and is going to do a slow strafing run on the Tyranid force. Then the jet bike's moving in to take out the Trigon Prime just here. And then the Avatar has descended from the hillside, and he's going to try and take out the Lictor inside the cave there. Revenant Titan was here, and then he's jumped up on top of the rocks there, and is now looking right down on the table. Real commanding view. Is going to let off some pulsar fire. The empty Wave Serpent's just swung around. It's going to fire at whatever it needs to. We'll see how the rest of the shooting goes. And then the Wraith Knight's going to take on this rear unit with his Sun Cannon and try and charge it in combat. Banshee's going to deal with these. And then this Wave Serpent's backed up, and the Dire Avengers disembarked here. So it's handy having those on standby, ready to deploy them as we need them. The Wraith Blades moving up as well, going to try and go up and over the rocks and charge into that second Gene Stealer unit. Next Wraith Lord moving in, and he's going to try and take out the Morlock that's deep striked there. And then the Scorpion Mark II has gone 12 inches up and over. Try and keep that thing alive. And then the Scorpions with Karandras and the Autarch are going to try and charge the lead Gene Stealer unit, and then the Scouts holding their position. So action for almost every Eldar unit. Pretty much every Eldar unit will have something to do on this first turn. Action all over the table. Not panicking. The Great Tree remains safe. Alright, so pulsars from here, firing down right into this Tyranid line. Right, first pulsar going in has created a gap. This is exactly what we wanted. And he's going to work out the backlash now from the exploding Tervigon. Right, so first pulsar landed here, and Ben rolled well and took out the Tervigon. A couple of Carnifexes, and then across here, and then the second pulsar fired and has landed just here. Better cover saves from the Tyranids, so a couple of casualties taken, but not as effective as it has been. The Venom Throat providing some good cover there. D-weapons don't always ignore cover now, only on a 6. So not quite as effective as they used to be. But we're going to do the rest of the shooting now for the Eldar, see how effective we can be. Right, Eldar shooting on turn 1, and we have to say it's been pretty good. So pulsar rounds coming in, causing casualties in the centre there. Carnifex is taking damage, and then we've Ben fired the twin link pulsar across here, and more damage taken on the Tyranid line. Not enough to create too big holes in the line, but not too bad. Scouts firing down at the Tyranid line there, and then casualties coming in on the Raveners as a target priority. Damage done from the Scorpions there. The Wraith Lord firing the Bright Lance and Flamer through, and then support from the Guardian line firing down as well. So Eldar units supporting each other, and has reduced the Raven unit right down, which is good news. Still a lot of Gene Stealers left here, unfortunately, and then the Morlock, only 1 wound taken. Some casualties on the Gene Stealers just there from the striking Scorpions. They should be able to charge in and wipe out at least that first squad, but may be in trouble when the other 2 move in. 7 casualties caused by the Sun Cannon from the Wraith Knight, and then casualties taken by the Gene Stealers here from the Howling Banshees. And then a handful of casualties on the Gene Stealers here. That was fire from the Wave Serpent. 1 wound on the Lictor from the Warp Spider. And then the Avatar jumping down, fired into the cave with his melter weapon and killed the Lictor inside. Trigon's gone. Effective fire from the jet bikes and this Wave Serpent. A lot of rending hits, and that has gone. And then a massive fire coming through. Supporting fire at the back here with the Wave Serpent and the Viper. And then volley fire here from the Dire Avengers. And then effective fire coming down from Fuigan's Fire Dragons has reduced the Warriors down to 1. And then there's just a Lictor there and the Death Leaper left alive. Effective fire also coming down from the Dark Reapers. So Eldar giving a good account of themselves. That's why they're one of the top forces on the channel. Effective fire, a well-coordinated and mutual support going on here. So it's good stuff. Going to go into assaults now. There's a number of assaults, bit of mopping up action to do. The main threat is that Gene Stealer horde, and we've not reduced that enough. And there are a few units around. And just remembering that point, that for every Eldar unit destroyed, every figure gone, it doesn't come back. So this Eldar force is going to shrink. It's the only thing that's on our side is time. If we can survive and last the day, then we should be able to defend the Great Tree. So going to assaults now for the Eldar on turn 1. So assaults here, there's a number of ones. The Scorpions have charged in, going to try and wipe out the Raveners. The Wraith Lord failed to get in. This Wraith Lord failed to get in as well. Then the Scorpions, with all the heroes inside, have charged into the Genestealers, and then we rolled really well, rolled a 9 with the Wraith Blades there into those Genestealers as well. That's going to be a nasty fight there. Still, the Genestealers have those rending claws, so it's going to be a tough one. And then James Czar and the 2 units of Howling Banshees are in over there, and then the Brave Exarch for the Warp Spiders is charged into the Lictor. So a number of critical combats are going to go on. Here, this is a critical one. The Wraith Blades charge again. Genestealers are going to go first. 29 attacks with 13 models. 2 attacks basic, and then +1 for their 2 sets of weapons. So here we go. They're at freeze to hit.
Okay, you don't get an extra attack.
We've got to survive this one. We've got a bad feeling we could be in trouble. So freeze to hit, just going to take out the misses here.
2 hits.
And he's rolled well. This is James rolling here with his Imperial Guard dice. Wrens, if he gets 5 6s, he's wiped out the Guardians of the Tree. Oh no. 6s are good. Oh no.
They're dead.
They're dead. Oh, they've been rendered. Oh, the Wraith Blades have gone. The Wraith Blades are gone. The Guardians of the Tree have been destroyed. Right, so combat results for the Eldar on turn 1. It's gone okay. 1 Ravener left just here. The Scorpions set around to destroy him. And then 3 wounds on the Morlock, and then 1 wound returned on the Wraith Lord there. So that combat's going to carry on, and then he could be in trouble because there's a load of Genestealers coming up with a Broodlord as well. And then the Scorpions didn't kill all of the Genestealers. We lost 1 casualty, and then only 2 Genestealers left there. So we won the combat, but they're fittest, so that continues. There's going to be a bitter fight now between Scorpion versus Genestealer, so that will continue. These guys are victorious, wiping out the Wraith Blades, and they're now on there, so there could be trouble here for the Super Heavy. So it's precarious. Turn 2 will be for the Eldar. In the combat here, just a drawn melee, no wounds done on either side. And then just down here, the Banshees made short work of the Genestealers just in the corner here. So that's that sector cleared. But interesting one. Eldar have got their work cut out still. And the Tyranids are going to continue to move the tide up, and reinforcements are going to continue to pour in onto this battlefield. Right, Tyranid turn 2, here they come, the tide surges ahead. So Hormagaunt's at the lead here, and then Gaunt's behind. Unit of Genestealers has been recycled and has now joined the main battle line. Not allowed to outflank anymore, not allowed to deep strike, they're just going to join the main tide. This continuous tide moving up the table. Carnifex is then moving up, and then the Tervigons, one here been recycled. So the rule is they're not allowed to turn up they have to keep out of 18 inches when they do arrive from reserve. So one's just turned up here, and it's just to keep that tide rolling. And then coming around here, deep striking hive crones have arrived just here. The sky is full of Tyranids. If we can beat these off, they'll not be allowed to come back again by a deep strike. They'll have to come on the far end. So it's just a case of surviving this initial amount of deep strikers, and then the position will be better. But there's a lot of stuff coming in. These gaunts have arrived from the hole just here that was made by the Trigon. Definitely was moved up to try and take out the scouts. Then coming across here, one Lictor, he's moved out of the cover there looking for an assault. One lone warrior moving in. Eldar have done well in this sector so far. And then Hive Tyrants just turned up at the back here. It's a nightmare, these huge beasts. And then another unit of 30 gaunts have come out of the hole that was made by the Trigon. Melee continues there with the Lictor and the Warp Spider Exarch. Another winged Hive Tyrants turned up. My Tyranids really are descending now. You can imagine the sky is full of all these Tyranid beasts. Sector's quiet down here for the Eldar. No more flanking units coming on. Gene Stealers have moved off and are going to try and destroy the Scorpion Mark II, which really is in trouble. So that could be one of the big guns that may fall silent this turn. If that happens, the Eldar are in big, big trouble. Raveners have arrived by deep strike. That's the last of them to arrive. And then this tide of Gene Stealers moving forwards take on the striking Scorpions. Melee continues there with the Scorpions, but this tide, you can see it coming up now. Time's running out for the Eldar. The Tyranids have reached the first rock here of the Scouts, who are now going to be bypassed by this Tyranid tide coming up. But we're keeping this tide going. All the dead units from previous turns are just going to keep arriving in here, but they have to deploy 18 inches back every time, and they'll just keep rolling up in this direction. So just psychic phase, a couple of things going on, a couple of rangers destroyed on top of the hill. He used onslaught to move and then shoot with the Hive Tyrant there. Then the Hive Tyrant firing down here, Warp Blast killed 4 of the Banshees. So a couple of casualties taken, not too much going on for the psychic phase. We're going to go into shooting phase now for the Tyranids on turn 2. Right, shooting for the Tyranids on turn 2. It's hard to keep track of everything because there's so much stuff. But the Carnifex is fired forwards, tried to wound the Wraith Lord in there, but he passed his armor saves. Just a whole lot of shots coming in. Significant casualties would be the last of the scouts have gone. So that's them destroyed. Tyranids picking up 1 and then 2 victory points there at least. There's no Eldar in there, and the Eldar are just about clinging on within the next 12-inch bracket. So they're racking up the points here as the tide sweeps ahead. Then coming through, the last of the scouts are gone here. A whole load of Devourer shots coming in. So it's effective guys coming on from reserve through the holes there. And then same around the other side here. 1 casualty on the fire spears from the Gaunts. So that's not bad going for the Tyranids. Not as much shooting, a lot of combat stuff. So we're going to look for the assaults now on turn 2. Critical. The Eldar have got to weather this storm and then strike back hard on their turn 2, or we could be looking a whole load of trouble. And the key combat is there. Will those Gene Stealers do significant damage to the Scorpion super heavy tank? We need that tank. It's got to survive, or we could be facing defeat if the big guns fall silent. Then this Eldar force could be overwhelmed. Right, so charges here. We've done Overwatch as well. So the Warriors gone into the Harlequins and Uriel. Just didn't stand much of a chance, but may as well charge them in. Deathleap has jumped down and charged into the Wave Serpent. And then coming around here, one Lictor is moving up the rocks here and has charged into the Fire Dragons. They fouled on their Overwatch, unfortunately, so he's made it in. Then coming around here, the Lictor's gone into the Wave Serpent here, just harassing the Eldar. And then the Genestealers made it into combat easily with the Scorpion Mark II. Genestealers have charged the Wraithlord from behind, and then the other Genestealer unit has charged in support of the Scorpions. So Eldar on the defensive here. Can they defend themselves? Right, so combats for the Tyranids on turn 2. There's been some good successes around. So the Scorpions here reduced the Ravener down to just 1 wound left, but that melee continues. Coming down here, Scorpions have been slaughtered by the Genestealers. There's only the Striking Scorpion Exarch, Karandras, and the Autarch left, and he's on a wound, and then Karandras is on a wound as well. A success here for the Genestealers. 7 hull points dealt out of 9. So that Scorpion Mark II is in a bad way. It's been torn to shreds at the back. Lictor, a good round of combat there, has destroyed this Wave Serpent. Drawn melee here, no wounds on either side for these two. And then coming across, 1 wound on the Lictor, but that melee continues. Then down here, continuing melee down here as well between the Warrior and the Harlequins. And then 2 hull points dealt out on this Wave Serpent by the Death Leaper, and then the Falcon has been destroyed by the Trigons. So damage being done to the Eldar is quite consistent here from the Tyranids, but we've survived turn 2. Going to go on to turn 2 now for the Eldar, see if they can reply to the Tyranid menace as it closes in on our position, and of course the Great Tree. Holding the Great Tree. As long as the Great Tree is held, the Eldar will prevail. It gives us energy and and encourages us to continue in the fight. Right, movement for the Eldar on turn 2. There's no Eldar here, but there's still plenty left. That melee continues just there, and then Vector Dancer, we've moved 18 span around. I'm going to try and take out these Crones here. They're all in glide mode when they deep strike, so they're going to be able to assault on the next turn, so we're going to need to try and take them out here. Not much we have to fire at these. We've got our own trouble further back, deeper in the lines. We're backed off an inch with the Wave Serpent. Going to try and take on the Death Leaper. Just holding position with the Guardian line. Shifted over an inch just to get that hollow field protection on the Revenant Titan. Locked in combat with the Fire Dragons. Locked in combat there with Prince Uriel and the Clowns. And then these squads just manoeuvring around, are going to fire up a hail of shuriken weapons and try and take out the Hive Tyrant. Jet bikes moving in to take out the Gaunts. Avatar is going to try and sneak up and take out the Lictor from behind. Wraith Knight has jumped around, fancies his chances against the Hive Tyrant. Banshees and Jane Zar moving across to take on the Gaunts there. Wave Serpent here backing off, going to try and take out the Lictor that destroyed the other Wave Serpent. And the Dire Avengers have moved to fire their weapons at the Genestealers, and then they should receive some supporting fire from that Guardian line, which may well come in very handy indeed. Not much Eldar left in this sector here, virtually wiped out, and those Scorpions in a lot of trouble. But they'll fight to the bitter end, and they are absorbing the Tyranid force, which is buying time as we try and defend ourselves and defend, of course, the Sacred Tree. So I'm going to go on to Psychic Phase now. There is no Psychic Phase. The only Psyker we had was the Shadow Seer. He died on turn 1. So straight into shooting now for the Eldar on turn 2. Right, turn 2 shooting for the Eldar. I've got to hand it to him. It's been an impressive display again. Pulsars firing down. A number of casualties amongst that mass. So they're keeping the casualties coming. Turret had to swing round here for the Scorpion. He fired down, and the Morlock and that unit of Genestealers with the Broodlord has been destroyed, blown away. With an impressive display of firepower. Couple of wounds on the winged Hive Tyrant there, and then the Guardian line firing down, combining with the Dire Avengers, has destroyed the Gene Stealer unit just on the plateau there. Ripper's untouched. Lictor is destroyed by the Wave Serpent firing through. Good firepower. A couple of casualties coming through from the Banshees onto the Gaunts, and then more casualties coming in from the jet bikes there. And then a few wounds on the Winged Hive Tyrant from the Dire Avenger squad and the 2 vehicles just there. Death Leaper was killed, hit on a snap shot, and wounded, and then fouled his cover save would have got in the open and has been destroyed there. All the Hive Crones are gone, firing down from the Revenant Titan, obliterated those, and the last one was picked off by the Vector Dancing Flyer. So that's it. Impressive display of firepower. It's created a gap now, a breathing space for the Eldar in this sector. They've got some Tyranids to deal with here, and they may have secured their position once again. So impressive stuff, you have to hand it to them. Combat's now, I've got a few charges to do. Right, combat results for the Eldar. It's gone well. The last Ravener was killed, and the Scorpions have fallen back 4 inches. You might not be able to escape all these Tyranid tides coming in fast. And then a load of Gene Stealers brought down, and just 1 wound put on the Autarch there, and that melee continues. Been pinned in place, and again that tide's moving up fast, so it looks like the Scorpions may get mopped up there. Eldar almost eliminated from this sector here. Tyranids will pick up 3 victory points if they clear it. The flyer doesn't count. We've just got a handful of Scorpions to get rid of, and they'll get some key victory points there. The Great Tree is contested by the Winged Hive Tyrant. He wasn't reached in combat by the Wraith Knight. And then combats here. The Avatar charging in has killed the Lictor. And then down here, the last warrior was killed by Prince Uriel and his squad. And then the Lictor here was killed by Fuigan and his squad. So good mopping up action by the Eldar there. Good results here. The Winged Hive Tyrant killed as well by the Wraith Lord, and then he's fallen back, creating a nice healthy gap here. So that's buying time for the Eldar as this tide gets closer and closer to the Great Tree. And the last combat there, the Banshees and the Fire Spears have caused significant casualties there, but fearless for those, so they'll continue in the melee, tying up the Eldar units there. So that's the end of turn 2. We're going to go on to Tyranid turn 3 now, as they push on towards the Great Tree. Right, Tyranid turn 3, the tide has swelled. All of those units that have been killed have now joined the tide there. One Morlock mishapped after he came up. He's just at the back there. He came up, mishapped underneath the Wave Serpent. He didn't do any damage, but in the process destroyed the Venom, so the Tyranids are quite happy about that. And then another Morlock burst up and has killed the Dire Avenger Exarch and 4 of the other Dire Avengers as well. So Morlocks still popping up. And then a little bit of move we forgot there. The 2 Winged Hive Tyrants have now moved, and they are going to try and go after the Revenant Titan. Uh-oh, trouble. Could be trouble. More Gaunts pouring out of the hole here within 6 inches. They've just about got out. And then just quiet on this sector here. Ripper's moving up, sneaking up behind the rocks. And then the tide scuttling forwards here, up and over the rocks. They were here and they've surged ahead, now bearing down fast on the Eldar position. Right, just shooting on turn 3 for the Tyranids. Not bad. Units in the line fired ahead and have killed the Scorpion unit just here. And then the heavy venom cannons firing forwards. 1 hull point on the Scorpions. It's almost dead. 1 hull point left. Then firing up from the Gaunts here has killed 2 of the Guardians. That's about it. So we're going to go on to assaults now. Right, assaults for the Tyranids just coming up here. The Hormagaunts made it into combat, and they have now surrounded the last of the Scorpions, so they pile in. And just some continuing melees down here. The Gaunts fighting the Banshees, and then the 2 Hive Tyrants have charged into the Revenant Titans. There'll be a combat there, see if they can bring that big stomper down. So just resolved combats there. 2 hull points in total on the Revenant Titan, and then he stomped back and killed one of the winged Hive Turrets. He's under attack now, but the Eldar are clustering around him. They're doing okay. Last of the gaunts in this unit were destroyed by the Banshees, so they've now consolidated. And then the Scorpion's here in trouble. It's just Karandras on his own. He is denying the Tyranids the points at the moment as he holds off the Hormagaunts there. That marks the end of turn 3 for the Tyranids. Going to go into turn 3 for the Eldar. Coming up now. The Eldar on turn 3, quite straightforward. The Wraith Lords, this is their forte here, going to try and burn out all the gaunts here. And then the Wave Serpent just moving out on top. Eldar are able to start pouring in some fire into the main line as it advances now. And then the Scorpion Mark II has just moved down, just so it can claim its Jinx save if it needs it. And coming around, Eldar just adjusting to take on the Morlock at the back. And then also here to take on these gaunts. Stuck in combat here with the Titans, so Fuagan's had to turn around, try and alleviate that. That means no pulsar shots this turn from the Revenant Titans. That's a good move there from the Tyranids. One Wave Serpent just moving up to provide some fire down onto the Tyranids as they move up. And then Vector Dancers just swung around and were able to let off some shots as well. Wraith Knight jumps up and around. He's going to try and charge into the Rippers just here. So that's Eldar movement done. Going to go into the Psychic and Shooting phase now on Eldar turn 3. Right, shooting for the Eldar on turn 3, and it's been a dazzling display of firepower. 2 lots of flamers bursting through here, and it's wiped out about 30 of the gaunts. Those 2 huge squads reduced to almost nothing. So that's good damage dealt out by the Wraith Lords on patrol there. More damage coming in from the Wave Serpent as well. A couple of wounds put on this Trigon here. Then coming up, the Hive Tyrants locked in combat there, so the pulsars weren't able to fire on the Revenant Titan. And then shots coming in here. We've stacked up 5 wounds on this Morlock. It looks like the Eldar could do it here. It's quite a clean, crisp defense that they have performed so far. And then firing down with the Sun Cannon, failing a whole load of cover saves and instant death with direct hits from the Sun Cannon has meant that the Rippers have been annihilated. That marks the end of the shooting for the Eldar, and also the Flyer here danced around, fired, and has grounded the central Hive Crone. So that is shooting done. Just on to combats here, a couple of mopping up actions to do. And the Eldar really have performed well. We really thought they were in trouble, but once again, they've vindicated themselves. Right, combat results. Combats here for the Eldar. The Banshees charged in along with the Avatar and the Warp Spider Exarch and wiped out the gaunts just there. It's clean and efficient killing here from the Eldar. Hive Tyrant still alive. He's taken 2 wounds. Has survived the attacks from Fuagan, and he's dealt out another glancing hit on the Titan there. So 3 hull points on him now. And then just down here, the Morlock was killed by Prince Uriel. Good job. And then just over on the far side of that, Karandras killing a load of the Hormagaunts. Now continue because of the Fearless for the Synapses range. So Karandras there on his own, swamped by Tyranid Hormagaunts. So Eldar have done well. They defended themselves once again. Going to go on now to Tyranid turn 4 as the tide continues to roll up the table. Tyranid movement on turn 4. The tide has swelled once again. Flyers coming on, and they have to start 18 inches away, so that's back here, and then they're going up 24, so there's a whole load of them coming in. The Hive Crones have all converged, and they're going to try and take out the Eldar flyer there. So there's a fresh surge from the Tyranids here. Their force is constantly swelling due to those reinforcements continuously coming on. That tide, unstoppable tide, is surging ahead. The Eldar have done well, but the gap's been closed quickly by the Tyranids. Some brilliant moves being made. Run moves have been done for most of these units. Those gaunts there running up, that bounding leap, getting them up the table very, very fast. And the Raveners have turned up now, just deep striking down there. That melee continues. Fresh unit of gaunts has come out of the hole, and then coming around here, gaunts pushing up, and the other units. Karandras is now lost amongst that sea of red. He's the lone one, but he's denying them the points. And also the Tyranids are having to keep back 18 inches, starting from there with their fresh units, instead of starting sort of about here. So he's done a valuable job in holding his position. Most of these units have they've all done run moves actually, that's why they've managed to get so far ahead. So there it is, the Tyranid tide. Some shooting now for the Tyranids, and then some assaults no doubt. So shooting phase and psychic phase coming up now. Right, shooting phase for the Tyranids, not too bad. Impaler cannons and heavy venom cannons firing through, and they have destroyed the Scorpion Mark II. It's been brought down. First time in our games it's been destroyed. So it's good shooting from the Tyranids. That's certainly encouraged them to surge on and push ahead. Still the Eldar defiantly clinging on to that high ground. They have done well. They have done well. And then coming around here, gaunts firing, brought down 3 of the Banshees. That's pretty good shooting, not too bad at all. And then tentacled attack. We evaded 3 of the hits, but took 1 glancing hit on the Exarch Crimson Hunter. So that's the shooting for the Tyranids. Not a vast amount. Most units running, surging ahead, trying to push on to the Eldar position. Absolutely terrifying here. This never-ending swarm piling into the Eldar. But that's it. We're going to go on to combats now. Revenant Titan is still under attack. We found out that he is actually allowed to jump away from combat, even though he's a walker. I guess it's because he's an apocalyptic unit. So he'll be jumping off next turn, but he's taken damage from that Hive Tyrant. We'll see if we can destroy it and free him up to shoot on our next turn. So combats now for the Tyranids on turn 4. Right, so combat results here. The 2 Wraith Lords are engaged. The Rippers charged in just there. And then the 2 units of gaunts that were burnt out, they combined charged in. They can't do any damage to either, but they've now pinned them down and holding them in place whilst the heavier stuff moves up. So good tactic the Tyranids are using there. And coming around, the Hive Tyrant's been slain. So that's freed up the Revenant Titan for our turn. It's all clean around the back here. They have cleared out the threat and really have done very well indeed. The tide is being held back, but this Eldar turn will be crucial. Can they create a gap here once again? Keep holding them back each turn and they will win this game. Karandras fighting for his life, took a wound, so he's down to 2 wounds left, but he's still there defiantly, despite all the Tyranids bypassing him and moving on. He's lost in amongst that combat. What a hero, single-handedly holding up the Tyranid force. He's buying time for the Eldar as they defend the Great Tree of Algorion. Eldar turn 4 coming up. Eldar movement on turn 4. The Wraith Lords locked in combat there. They'll carry on, trying to hold back this Tyranid tide. The Eldar sense they can do it. They can do it if they can hang on. Uriel and his small squad moving around to take out the Ravenous there in their efficient job that they've done so far. Fugan and his Fire Dragons are going to fire down and melt them as well. Should easily be able to deal with that threat. It's done well. The Guardian line's going to hold position on top, joined by 2 Wave Serpents. And then the Revenant Titan has jumped off and back here to relocate. Units at the back here, the jet bikes, and the Avatar's just going to hold his position there, granting that 12-inch fearless bubble. And then the Janizar and the Howling Banshees, and the jet bikes, the lone Warp Spider Exarch, are all going to converge and beat back these Gaunts again. And then not much left here. The Dire Avengers going to hold their position, joined by the Wraith Knight. He stands defiantly in front of the Sacred Tree. We will not let them pass. You shall not pass. And then 1 lone Wave Serpent standing against the Tyranid tide on this left-hand flank as they move up. Crimson Hunter swinging around, Vector dancing around, going to try and pick off one of the Hive Crones. That's movement done for the Eldar. Going to go straight into shooting now for the Eldar on turn 4. Right, shooting for the Eldar on their turn 4. Wraith Lords locked in combat. Pulsars firing down from the Revenant Titan over there, blowing holes in the Tyranid line. I've lost track of what's being blown up, but there are holes appearing all over the place. One of the Hive Crones has been brought down. Skillful shooting from the Crimson Hunter Exarch. And then firing from the Guardian line and the Dire Avengers, and the Sun Cannon has destroyed the Hormagaunts just there. So the Eldar are doing it, they're blowing them away as they're coming up. That's good work. Ravenous popped up there and then were destroyed by Fugan's Dragon unit. Good unit there, effective fire from them for the whole game. And then fire here has wiped out 2/3 of the Gaunts from the hole here for the Eldar. That marks the end of the shooting for the Eldar on turn 4. So a few combats to go, and then we're on to Tyranid turn 5. So combat results for the Eldar on turn 4. The 2 Wraith Lords fighting away. The one here just killed 2 Reaper bases, and then the other one just killed one of the Gaunts. Locked in combat there. Once that happens, they just get bogged down. So they'll be bypassed by the Tyranid tide, no doubt, as they desperately try to reach the Eldar Sacred Tree. Gaunts destroyed again, and now the Eldar positioning themselves so that no more reinforcements can come out of that hole. Mission accomplished for the rear units here. It's well done. Coming across. Karandras survived, no wounds taken, he killed 3 in return, so he'll continue in the fight against those Hormagaunts. So on we go to Tyranid turn 5. We're going to try and squeeze it in. How far can they get on this next turn? If they even just occupy zones, they will deny points to the Eldar and could win the game. Tyranid movement on turn 5. The tide surges ahead once again. They've reached that second rock. There's a Trigon just standing on top there. And here they are, smashing right into the Eldar line. Gaunts pouring in, up and over. Hormagaunts pouring in, up and over the rocks and down inside as well. Unstoppable as it pushes forwards. Trigon here on its way towards the Wraith Lord, just there. Other units surging ahead, flyers moving in. Hive Crone flying up and over the top. Going to try and let off some tentacled shots at the Titan. Other Hive Crone. Winged Hive Tyrant's gone into glide mode. The other Hive Tyrant just over the other side there has gone into glide mode as well. So Eldar are going to have to destroy them. Tervigon's moving ahead. Gene Sealer's pushing up as well. Karandra's still here, but It is the Swarm Lord, the commander of the army, is moving in to try and take him out. So Tyranids making excellent progress as they surge ahead. Eldar holding their line as we go into shooting now, and the psychic phase on turn 5 for this Tyranid force. One other thing, Morlock burst up and has killed some of the jet bikes and the last of the Howling Banshees, but James R still survives. Right, shooting for the Tyranids on turn 5. It's quite effective. The range of these weapons is starting to come in now, and concentrated fire coming down right in the centre there. So Eldar Guardian's being blown away, a hole's been made. Then Tentaclids firing through, causing another hull point on the Revenant Titans. He's got 4 in total, so he's taken damage in this game. That's pretty much all the shooting there was. Most units running, just desperately surging ahead to seize ground. So we're going to go into combats now. Right, significant turn here. The Trigon charging in, 1 wound on the Wraith Lord, who continues to fight. It killed a couple of bases of the Rippers there. The other Wraith Lord continues to fight, killed a few of the Gaunts. Then coming around, the Wraith Knight survived the attack from the Carnifex, no wounds, got 1 invuln save made, and then in return he struck first, 3 wounds on the Carnifex just there. Eldar holding their ground, but sad moment for the Eldar. A cry goes up as their beloved Phoenix Lord, Karandras, is killed by the Swarm Lord. Absolutely cut to pieces, no invuln save to save the day. So that marks the end of Tyranid turn 5. We're on to Eldar turn 5, and that will end the game, and then we'll try and calculate who is the winner in this vicious fight. Perhaps the most vicious battle we've ever seen on this channel. Right, Eldar movement on turn 5. The Vector Dancing Crimson Hunter Exarchs move round. He's got a view to try and bring down the Hive Tyrant. Melees continue over there, holding the hillside. Uriel and his squad are going to try and take on the Hormagaunts there. Holding the ground here at the back. Just mission accomplished, really. Just going to try and take out the Morlock. And then just shifting an inch with the Revenant Titan. And then continuing melee just there. Not really many Eldar units left. Just hold your ground, fire your weapons, and don't fall back. So going to go on to shooting now for the Eldar on turn 5. Right, shooting for the Eldar on turn 5. The Pulsar's firing, blown another hole in the Tyranid line. Casualties taken down here as well. And then just coming around, it's the Eldar have done well. We think they may have won the game. And then just here, the Hive Tyrant was blown away by shots from the Dire Avengers, and then missile launcher from the Revenant Titan. So that's good going. We're going to have to leave the combats here. We're literally out of time. So we're going to calculate victory points here. We think the Eldar may have done it, but we'll have to see. Right, so just calculating victory points here, and the Tyranids get 1 victory point for getting this far in. Then they get 2 victory points for being this far in, and then they contest the rest, but they don't get the points. So that's 3 victory points for the Tyranids. Then they killed the Soup Heavy, so they get a point for that. That's 4 points in total. Eldar do hold the back line. There are no Tyranids here, so they will claim 6 points for that. Everything else is contested. They also got Slay the Warlord. The Swarm Lord was killed, so that's 7 points. And then we held the Great Tree, so that's 7 points. 3 points for that, that's 10 points. 10 points to 4. The Eldar win. We think they deserve it. Everyone's in agreement they deserve it. So that is victory for the Eldar. They've done very well indeed. Good game. The Tyranid Swarm did the best they could. It was an impressive display. But the Eldar held their ground, and the Great Tree of Algorion has been held. That will impact the next scenario. There it is. Eldar versus Tyranids in a classic showdown. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.